Founded by the Phoenicians and later conquered by the Romans, the ancient Roman city of Leptis Magna in Lybia is often described as the Rome of Africa. UNESCO classified these ancient ruins as a World Heritage Site. In 2016, this site, along with 4 others, were placed on the list of endangered places. Neglect is the greatest enemy. The threats that this city faces are indirect. Such threats come in different forms, such as the lack of supplies, which never existed in the first place, the fact that archaeological missions have been interrupted, the lack of means and support from the government, virtually non-existent. This ancient city, built on about 50 hectares, is a must for tourists. According to the head of the site's control committee, the ruins hold enormous potential and could be a magnet for visitors and boost the national economy. Be it this government or the previous ones, before or after the revolution, none cared for the city, even though the government's attention should be focused entirely on this city, because it's considered one of the sources of national income, if done properly. It could create jobs and attract millions of tourists. Overlooking the Mediterranean and situated 120 kilometers away from the capital Tripoli, Leptis Magna has escaped the worst of the political turmoil engulfing the country. At the moment, the few visitors here are mostly Libyans. The city was founded by Romans and Phoenicians, if I remember correctly. It's beautiful for its archaeological sites and its warmth. When you enter Leptis, you're embarking on a journey through time, a dive into history. Political instability have put an end to various European archaeological missions, mainly Italian and French. For the powers that be, Leptis Magna remains a distant concern.
The 2018 joint press conference with Benin's President Patrice Talon and French President Emmanuel Macron renewing their commitments to the return to African countries of works of art looted by France. Since then, Benin has claimed the return of some of its artworks, many of which should have been repatriated. But the Beninese authorities decided to exhibit them in October at the Kai Brownlee Museum in Paris, then in January 2022 at the Aina Palace. Marie-Cécile Zinzou, art historian and president of the Zinzou Foundation, questions these decisions. It is difficult to explain and to understand why the government of Benin thinks that exhibiting in Paris makes more sense than exhibiting in Ouidah, where the building of the National Museum has been entirely restored to accommodate these works, precisely since the process was launched. Today for us it is a surprise and a misunderstanding. The government seems to want to say that it is a tourist operation, and we are trying to argue that we have been waiting 129 years for these works in Benin, and we would like to be able to see them now at home, and that perhaps they have been sufficiently in France, and that it is perhaps not worth waiting another 4 months. The 26 works of the royal treasures of Abomey will be housed in the Ouidah History Museum before joining the future Museum of the Epic of the Amazons and Kings of Dahomey in Abomey. The institution is financed by a grant of 35 million euros from the French Development Agency. Benin has been restoring the Museum of Ouidah, and by doing things well and in a rather short time, shows that we can quite accommodate these works in good conditions as was planned. For Marie-Cécile Zinzou, it is important that African youth finally have access to their heritage, their culture, and therefore their history. The first exhibition outside the walls of the Kai Brownlee took place in Cotonou. It was the exhibition on King Benzon. 275,000 people came to see it in 3 months, and I think the numbers speak for themselves. This is perhaps the best answer to people who think that heritage is not interesting. For all parents who are raising children, there's a desire to know their history and understand their culture. I believe that this is a universal feeling. Benin is no exception to this, and perhaps in some African countries it is not yet visible because there may be other interests. But as soon as we give people the possibility to appropriate their culture, they do it, and it is obvious today in Africa.
France's backing military operation commander rejects claims made by Malian Prime Minister Choguel Maïga. On Saturday, Maïga had accused France of abandoning the conflict-torn country with its decision to draw down troops this year. The plan to leave Tessalit, Kidal and Timbuktu dates back about 2 years, 18 months, around 2 years. It was drawn up with G5 heads of state, notably in Bamako and Niamey. Speaking in Mauritanian capital Nouakchott, General Noro Michon rejected the term abandonment employed by Maïga during his address to the General Assembly to describe the restructuring of France's military presence in the Sahel. The fact that we're withdrawing a symbolic presence from these 3 garrisons, this is absolutely not an abandonment. It's a change of position. In military terms, we call it a change of position. In these 3 places, MINUSMA units and above all those of Fama, are firmly established. Mali is close to sealing a deal with a Russian company, the Wagner Group, to hire mercenaries to help fight Islamist insurgents. France had warned Mali that hiring fighters from Russian security firm would isolate the country internationally and be incompatible with continued French presence there.
Nomi and Lovo walked confidently into the courtroom in Johannesburg on Monday in shiny black heels and a green dress with a grey shawl wrapped around her shoulders. She is accused of murdering 5 relatives and a boyfriend to cash in on insurance claims. Lovo is alleged to have taken out life and funeral insurance in the victims' names and claiming the money after their deaths. Investigators allege she made around 1.4 million rand or $93,000 from her bloody deeds. Between 2012 and 2017, prosecutors say her cousin, sister, boyfriend, niece, nephew and another relative were found dead, bludgeoned, strangled or shot. Lovo has been blamed for the murders, but she denies responsibility. She's been charged with several counts of murder, conspiracy and fraud. Prosecution alleges Ndlovu hired hitmen to carry out most of the dirty work, except in the case of her sister Audrey, whom she personally killed by strangulation.
South Africa's ruling ANC on Monday unveiled its manifesto for upcoming local elections, vowing to renew itself, woo back supporters and stop opposition inroads. In a televised event, Cyril Ramaphosa launched his party's manifesto from a public square in the capital Pretoria on Monday, pledging to reform the party while admitting to mistakes.
This evening, we pledge to you, the people of South Africa, that we will do better, much better than we have done in the past. This is a pledge, and this is what we dedicate ourselves to you on. We have not always done the best that we were meant to do.
The ANC's campaign has already been in full swing for the past 2 weeks, with Ramaphosa leading party official crisscrossing impoverished townships and villages.
Amongst other things that we'll be speaking about is improvement on delivery of water, sewer, electricity, maintenance of our infrastructure, but of importance, ensuring that our cities and towns become integrated through our human settlement development program.
The ANC, which has ruled South Africa since the end of apartheid in 1994, suffered its worst electoral setback during the last local polls in 2016, eking out just 54% nationally while losing an absolute majority in 5 out of 6 largest cities, including Johannesburg and Pretoria.